Hi, you guys.
Hello.
Hi, ladies. Sorry I missed the first one. The first workshop earlier today. I was running around doing some very interesting scenes for a work video that we're doing, and it was very interesting. But anyway, glad I'm here now.
That sure piques a lot of interest.
Jenny, did you see our assembly video last year?
I don't know if I ever did, actually.
15 minutes long. It was like posed as a game show. Anyway, for this year, for students to play at different assemblies, or for teachers to play for their students at different assemblies, we're kind of working with that same theme. And we did like a red carpet, like premiere vibe this year to talk about success. And so we're just trying to make it more fun. And we're trying to take in things that to explain keys to success without it being super boring. Anyway, so we film all these wild scenes and like they're really funny. We had like a blow up dinosaur. We're making like all these fake movie trailers to like not only pique interest, but also like talk about the different features in the different trailers. And so we spent all day doing that and filming them because so it was an adventure. We just finished up at like 5:30, so I've been running around all day.
Wow.
Yeah,
Crazy.
When we get the final cut, I'll send you the link because it is probably gonna be very funny.
I've got to see this Gonzo
extravaganza. Yeah, it will be interesting. It will be very cringy for me because I'm in a lot of it, so I won't want to watch it, but I think that other people will think it's funny.
I get it. I don't really like seeing myself on camera, but
yeah. I will do it, but I don't want to enjoy watching it afterwards.
I hear ya.
But yeah, how was the first workshop with the little gals?
Yeah, it went well. I mean, at least for my segment, weren't necessarily a talkative crowd, but financial products aren't,
they're pretty shy. A lot of them are pretty shy. I think I have like 3 or 4 that are very chatty if you give them the platform to be. Right. And most of them are very shy. So I'm not surprised by that. But hopefully we get some.
So the question was around scholarships, because of course, everybody likes scholarships.
Yep. Yeah. So that should be I'm hoping we've got some awesome ladies in the waiting room that I think will make for a very fun night. So let's see. Ellery, I think we're good to let them all in and we'll just get started. Let's see. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Let's see. Looks like some people are still coming on and getting their audio working, but we are going to jump right in. I did not realize this until just a minute ago, but I haven't seen you guys since before all the holidays and all your crazy stuff. So I hope that the end of your semester last year and the beginning of this semester, as well as all your holidays in between, were so great. I missed you guys. It's been a long time, I feel like. So I'm glad that we could all come together for another workshop today. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so we have a few announcements that I want to get started with, and we also need to take attendance before we get going. So also heads up, we're not going to do the group photo until after our first speaker, Jenny, is finished, just because I don't want to take the picture too soon. I know a lot of people come a few minutes late, and so I want to make sure that as many people are in the photo as possible. So just so you know, you've got a few minutes to get ready to turn your camera off when we take our picture. Let's see here. I am going to share my screen with our announcements and like some of our stuff really quickly. Okay, and then if Ellery, could you put the link for the attendance in the chat so it's easier for them. But if not, you can use the QR code to mark your attendance really quickly. This is kind of our agenda for today. So Jenny Sass of My 529 is going to, Jenny, how do you say it? My 529 or My 529?
There's a lot of debate about that when we reprinted.
Yeah.
My 529, I think, is what we landed on.
Okay. My 529. That's the thing, as I've heard it multiple ways. So I want to make sure. Jenny Sass of My 529 is going to speak to us first. She's one of our community partners. We work with her pretty closely on a few different programs. And then we're going to take our group photo. And then Tori Horton, who is a member of Women Who Succeed, and she's a mentor this year. And she's also the CEO of Reset Your Nest, is going to speak to us next. And then we're going to kind of wrap up from there after a few announcements. So if you want to make sure that you fill out this form so that I know that you are here, you can get your name entered into the drawing one more time for a $1,000 scholarship that we are going to be giving out at the end of this program year. So right after the April workshop at the end of April, that's when we're going to do the drawing for it. So you want to come to as many workshops as you can to get that probability of you winning up. Please make sure to fill out this form now. It closes at like 7:15, I think. So you cannot fill it out after that. You got to do it now. So that's why I'm giving you this time to do so. Okay, so we're just going to, I know most of you use the link anyway, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can see each other. Alrighty. I don't really have any announcement. Well, I have two very small announcements that you've all heard me say, so I won't spend a lot of time on them. Number one, please reapply for next year. Please consider reapplying at least for next year to be in our mentee program again. We've loved having each of you on, and we want you to continue to benefit from this program. We change the curriculum every year. And so even if you've gone through the whole workbook, we're having different resources, different activities, different topics every year. So you're not going to be bored. Plus, we're going to put you with a new mentor, a new mentorship group. You'll have more opportunities to meet more gals throughout the program. It's going to be a lot of fun. So please consider reapplying. You can go to our website. I will put the link to our website in the chat in just a minute so that you can look into that. Also, please refer your friends to join as well. We want as many of you as possible to be able to benefit from the program throughout the state. So please, please, please help us out in finding new mentees for the new year. We are we're accepting applications until April 1st for the next school year. So you're still a mentee until April of this year. But we need to be able to start pairing you with your mentors. If you remember last year, we did most of that during like January, February, March. That's when we like to prepare for the next school year. So you're still mentees, but for next school year, if you want to be a mentee, you have to reapply before April 1st. That wasn't very short, and I told you it was going to be, so I apologize. But the next thing is I'm going to be sending out a email to all of you about scholarship round 2. So keep an eye out for that. I'm going to send it to you by the end of this week so that you have information. The main thing that I want you to know about it right now is you will only have 15 days. So February 1st to February 15th to get that application to me. You're going to send it to the Women Who Succeed email. But I'm saying that because you have to ask your mentors and a professor or a teacher for a letter of recommendation. And it takes them a long time. Okay, be very cognizant of their time, and you can't ask them the day of. They do not have time for that. You got to give them some time to kind of think about it, think what they're going to write it out and send it to you. It takes a lot longer than you think. So if you are interested in signing up for the round 2 scholarships and applying for that, you will be getting an email at the end of this week with details about it. But I would recommend, If you have not applied before, so to answer Amy's question in the chat of do we need new letters of recommendation, if you applied to round one, whether you received the scholarship or you did not receive it, if you applied and you turned in both your letters of recommendation, you don't need to get new letters of recommendation. We're going to use those same letters, so don't worry about that. The only thing that will be new for you if you applied to round one is we are going to have you fill out the application again, just the application though. You won't have to get new letters of recommendation. So this is mostly for those who did not apply to round one. If you've never applied for a Women Who Succeed scholarship, start asking around and start asking your mentors to write those letters of recommendation for you, because you're not going to have a lot of time to do it by February 1st. Again, that took me a lot longer than I thought it was going to, and I apologize. So we're just going to jump right into it. Thank you all so much again for being here. Jenny, I am going to introduce you, and then we are going to turn it right over to you so that we can get started. So awesome. With that, I just want to introduce you to Jenny. Her and I have worked together for over a year now, as we're like community partners. She works for My 529, which is a huge sponsor for the Success in Education Foundation. And so we're super excited to have her with us today. So with Jenny, I'm going to read her bio to you really quick, and I know she'll give you some more details about it as she's talking as well. But she brings 15 years of sales and marketing experience to My 529. She has a bachelor's degree in marketing communications with a minor in business management. After 8 years in advertising sales at the Star Tribune newspaper in Minneapolis, she moved to Utah to continue working in sales and education-oriented companies. And for the last 8 years, Jenny has worked as an outreach and marketing specialist at My 529, working on sponsorships, contests, education, business initiatives, and much more. So that's why we know her very well. So Jenny, thank you so much for being here, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. And I think I should be able to share my screen, so I'll go ahead and do that. Get started. All right. All right, here we go. Awesome. Well, thanks for being here tonight and learning a little bit more about 529 plans, and specifically My 529. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with 529 plans. I didn't know anything about them until I started working for My 529 almost 8 years ago. And so I don't expect you to know stuff, but I hope by the end of tonight, you've learned a little bit about what we do at My 529. Awesome. All right. So some of the things I want to cover tonight are about paying for education. I know some of you are in college, some of you are preparing for college, but this idea of there's a path of possibilities to pay for post-secondary education, and the idea that it's never too early or too late to start saving for post-high school education, which could be technical college, it could be a beauty school, it could be what we think is more of a traditional four-year college. And the idea that saving is better than borrowing, and the impact of student loan debt. And then also we're going to just cover the basics of a 529 plan, so you can have a little bit of knowledge about what that is. I'm also going to introduce a college savings calculator tool that we have available on our site. And then what might be of interest to many of you are a couple of scholarship opportunities that we offer through My 529. So this idea that it's never too late or too early to start saving, I often have people come up to me at events and they say, I'm already in high school, I haven't started saving, or the parents come up to me and tell me this. And this chart that we've put together here depicts just the impact that starting to save even now, as you're in high school, how that can defray some of the costs that you have, such as books, tuition, that sort of thing. If you have a job and you're willing to tuck some money away, or you have family that's willing to do that for you, this just shows that even a little bit of money can have an impact as you are looking toward heading to college. And then this idea that saving is better than borrowing. This may be, perhaps a little confusing, just the layout of this graphic, but essentially, as you know, if when you borrow money for going to school or buying a car or a house or anything, there's going to be interest attached to that borrowing, even if you have a credit card. And so the idea here is that when you save, you are, basically saving yourself money because you're not having to pay back not only the principal that you've borrowed, which is the cost in this case of college, but also the additional interest that comes with paying that money back. And then here we see that if you were to choose something like a 529 plan to start saving, assuming there's a 5% rate of return on your investing, that there is a possibility that that money can grow. And, just as little as $10 over the course of 18 years could grow to $3,492. Again, we can truncate this for just during your education in high school and saving then, but it gives you an idea how those contributions to something like a 529 plan could grow over time. So in terms of sharing some basics about my 529, we are Utah's official 529 educational savings plan. Every state has a 529 plan with the exception of Wyoming. We've been in existence since 1996, and we are housed under the Utah System of Higher Education. So we're our own entity. We're quasi-governmental. We're considered state of Utah employees slash bankrolled through the University of Utah. We're a direct sold plan, which means that you come directly to us to open an account. So sometimes when I'm out in the public, people will think, I have to go to a bank or how do I open this? And you come directly to us to get that open. So we are an after-tax investment. And I know a lot of you probably are not familiar with Roth IRAs or even thinking about retirement at all. But we often make that comparison. We're an after-tax investment. So basically what that means is the money in the account goes in after it's been taxed. So it's not a pre-tax account, like if you think of an HSA or something like that. It's an after-tax investment. And the idea is that after you open an account and you choose an investment option, any earnings from the investing are tax-free as long as when you take that money out, it's used for what we term qualified education expenses. And that's things like tuition and fees, books, room and board, computers, computer-related equipment, any school that accepts federal student financial aid. So it could be in Utah, it could be outside of Utah, could be a tech college, could be a beauty school, like I said, a community college, whatnot. So there's a lot of flexibility there in terms of where the money can be used. In recent years, they've also added registered apprenticeships, student loan repayment up to $10,000 on the life of the 529 account, as well as K through 12 tuition expenses. So they continue to kind of broaden what that money can be used for. So in terms of just some terminology attached to 529 plans, the account owner is often a parent or grandparent, someone who's 18 years old or older and has a social security or tax identification number and a US address. And they designate a beneficiary, which is oftentimes a child or grandchild on the account. It's free to sign up. So there's no cost to get signed up. There's no minimum contribution required or minimum balance. So you can literally sign up and then just put money when you're able to. We have a great gifting program. So if you get signed up, you can create a gifting code and then share that with grandparents. Like let's say, your high school graduation party's coming up. You could share that gifting code, and instead of just getting cash, you could be getting money put toward your 529 balance. So that is great. So one part that I just kind of want to go over a little bit is about financial aid. And as I said, paying for college is it's a combination of things. It's not just any one thing. It can be scholarships, it can be taking out the student loan debt, it can be saving. But I just want to kind of highlight this financial aid piece. So paying for college involves different buckets for where you take that money out to pay for college. And scholarships and grants fall into that category of money you won't have to pay back. So I know a lot of people are definitely desiring to get scholarships if they can. If you qualify, scholarships and grants can greatly reduce the overall price, but typically don't cover the entire cost of tuition or room and board. And I've talked to parents that have had children who have full ride scholarships, and there's still some things that aren't covered that 529 money could help with. Student loans and personal loans fall into the category of money that you have to pay back, and 529 plans help families save in advance for higher education. So one question we get a lot is, how does my 529 change the possibility of qualifying for financial aid? So I just wanted to outline that quick. One question we often receive is whether or not 529 account will diminish a student's ability to get the best possible financial aid package. And your 529 funds will get a much better, have much greater impact on your ability to pay for college than the amount of financial aid you qualify for. So when you file your financial aid, you will need to complete the FAFSA, the free application for student aid form. And then you'll process your application and give a number, and that is called the expected family contribution, or the EFC. And the EFC is a number that the school uses to calculate how much financial aid you're able to receive. And this formula that includes a family's taxed and untaxed income, assets, benefits, as well as family size and family members attending college that year. The 529 assets are factored into that part of the EFC, but the overall picture of parental assets only count for 5.64%. So it has little impact on applying for federal student financial aid. So that's just something I wanted to highlight. Like I mentioned earlier, we have a great college estimator tool. We partner with a company out of Boston called Invite Ed. And so you're welcome to go there. It's free to use. You can kind of play around with numbers, maybe savings you've already, contributed to, and get an idea of how much you need to still save and work toward in paying for college. So that's a great resource. And then I also wanted to highlight our 2 scholarship opportunities, as everybody's always interested about that. So our next one is Book Your Summer, and that is a partnership with the state library system. So it's very easy to get signed up for that. You just need to go to your local library and sign up for the summer reading program there. And then once you've done that, you're eligible to go to bookyoursummer.com and enter to win one of, this year there will be 6 $1,000 awards. And that contest runs May 1st through July 31st. The second contest is Make Your Mark, and that takes place in September, which is College Savings Month. And we have a bookmark design contest. You'll see some examples of that on the left. And we have 8 $1,000 scholarships available with that in 4 different age categories. So K through 3, 4 through 6, and 7 through 8, and 9 through 12. So as I mentioned in the previous session, anecdotally, there's quite a few women that win Make Your Mark. We have a lot of female artists out there. And so, definitely if you have that ability, it can be digital art, it can be drawn art, we welcome that. And then because we're in the financial industry, there's always disclosure that needs to be shared. And one thing I would mention is that, as I said, every state has a 529 plan with the exception of Wyoming. So a question I'll get is, if I move out of state, should I look at other states' options? And you should, because Utah has a state tax credit that your parents, grandparents, an account owner would be eligible for, and other states might have that type of opportunity too. So you want to be able to take advantage of that. And for those who want to get started, we have a Utah Saves Week opportunity coming up. That's at the end of February. And so February 1st, there'll be the opportunity to take advantage of a matching offer to open an account and get $20 if you put $20 in that account. And I will share that information through Success in Education. So I'm sure they can pass that along to you guys if there is an interest in getting set up with an account with us. And happy to answer any questions that anybody has. I'll also put my contact information in the chat, just in the event that maybe someone has a question that they prefer to just send me directly.
Awesome. Okay, so if no one has any questions for Jenny yet, she will throw her contact info in the chat. Once again, I tell you this every single workshop, find her on LinkedIn, reach out to her. Thank you for her amazing presentation for you all, and especially reach out if you have any questions to her directly. She just put that in the chat for you. And then of course you can always reach out to me as well, and I can connect you with her too. Jenny, thank you so much. We really appreciate your help and your willingness to be here with us. Like I said, we've got to take a photo all together now that she's all finished. I want to make sure we got both of our speakers in here. So please turn your cameras off really quick, get into a good place where you can just smile for a minute so that we can take a cute little pic. Thank you. I see a lot of you are coming off screen, so I appreciate that. Okay, so I have 2 screens that I have to filter through, so I have to take 2 pictures, and there's no way for me to be able to tell you which one you're on, so you just have to keep smiling. Okay, it's fine. It's okay that your camera's not working. Okay, I appreciate everyone coming on. Okay, ready? Oh, hold on one second. Okay, ready, set, 1, 2, 3. Cute. Okay, page 2, keep smiling. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Yay, thank you. See, that was so easy. Okay, thanks y'all. Okay, Jenny, thank you so much. Thank you also for spending your time with the junior mentees this morning or this afternoon as well. And sharing with all of our program gals. So I really appreciate it. I know they really appreciate it. Hopefully some of them reach out to you separately and on LinkedIn and connect with you there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. All right, ladies, we are going to move on to our next speaker. And her name is Tori Horton. She is one of our Women Who Succeed members / mentors. So she gets to mentor a few of her own little mentees. Sorry, not little mentees. A few of her own mentees. I feel like you're all my little mentees, but I know you're all young women, you're grown women. So sorry. But anyway, I want to introduce you to Tori, and then she is going to speak to us as well for a little bit while we finish up until we finish up our workshop. So Tori, along with being a Women Who Succeed member and mentor, she is the CEO of Reset Your Nest. And so she is a resident of Silicon Valley, actually. So she kind of bounces back between California and Utah. And she brings over 20 years of startup experience and has worked with over 10 early stage companies, some of which were funded by major venture capitalist firms, including like Northgate Capital, Lightspeed Venture, and more. So prior to joining Reset Your Nest, she worked at PayPal as a senior product manager and was responsible for women's economic empowerment as a member of the global social innovation team. Her goal as CEO of Reset Your Nest is to revalue the care economy while supporting households with limited time to organize their spaces, making life easier. So Tori, I will turn it on over to you. Thank you so much for being here.
Yay, awesome. Sydney, nice to see you. Thanks for hosting me. And I want to do a quick call out. I've seen Tamara and Shaylee on here, and they're my mentees. So I'm here because they're here and I enjoy connecting. And so good to see you guys on here also. And then to the rest of you, thank you so much for making some time and giving me a moment to come and chat. I will go ahead and share my screen. Let me make sure I'm sharing the right one. All right, can you guys see it? Oh, I'm moving all the wrong things. There we go. And then slide share. Okay, are we in business? All right, fantastic. So super excited to be here. I wanted to just tell you a little bit. I guess I'm the CEO of Reset Your Nest, but I'm also a mom to two pretty awesome kids. My son Josh is 14 and my daughter Annabelle is 11. And I shared this first with Annabelle and it passed the test. She said it was pretty good and not too boring. And it's better if everybody gets to talk. And so I've done my part. I'm here. I'm hoping you guys will come off mute and talk so that I can report back that we had good engagement. And I will try to ask good questions, but also if you guys want to interject at any point or share your own experiences or connect it to something that resonates for you, let me just open it up and say, this will be more fun if everybody feels free to jump in. So don't be shy. I am the CEO of a company and I didn't start out ever thinking that I was going to be the CEO of anything. I grew up in Holiday, Utah, went to Olympus High School a long time ago now. I don't feel like it was that long ago, but it was when it was the old Olympus. So that's how you know it was a really long time ago. And then I went to BYU. And then after I graduated from BYU, I looked around and I thought, I really like Utah, but I might want to try living somewhere else. LA seems like it would be a fun place to be. So I just packed up my car and I moved to LA after I graduated. And it was a huge risk. And from there, I just started like putting the next steps together and I ended up going and getting a master's degree from USC. And that opened up a ton of opportunities in tech and finance. And I ended up doing, you know, again, if you asked any of my friends in high school, none of them would have said that I was the one who was going to do financial, that I was going to have a financial career, and that I was going to do technology. And yet it's what I've done for the last 20 years and I've loved it. So as you guys are now at this, you know, precipice where you're about to think about like, where am I going to go to college? Or maybe you're already in college and you're trying to figure out what am I going to do for my career? I will just start by saying it is okay to not know where you're going to be or to have a big vision of where you're going to be, but not yet know all the pieces of how you're going to get there. And so part of what I want to talk about today is the things that you need to start building those road maps and like putting those bridges in to help you to figure out what that next step is and how you use your own power to get there. So we're going to talk about two of my favorite topics. The first one is money. And I love talking about money because money is one of the ways that we can control our own destiny. If you have the money to do something, you can walk through the doors often. And if you don't have the money, sometimes those doors stay closed to you until you can figure out how to get the money. So money really matters. And even as much as like, we're not necessarily used to talking about it, it's one of the things that as you are finding your own power, figuring out how to talk about money helps you connect to it. So I care a lot about money, and it's because money is a form of power. And when we're able to use the money to get what we want, that power feels really great. And again, as women, we might not spend a lot of time really thinking about power as something that's important for us, but knowing that you have power and that you are empowered to say, I want to go to this destination and I have the ability to get in my own car of life and drive myself there because I can make the world move to what I want is super important. All of you guys experience this power on the daily in your own lives. I define power as our ability to achieve our goals. And this could be as basic as negotiating with your parents what time your curfew is when you're coming home, or how much you pay for your cell bill and if they're going to help you pay for your cell bill, to negotiating with your friends you know, where you're going to go to lunch. Power is our ability to achieve our goals and to bring others with us when we want them to do those things with us. And in a lot of ways, it's our ability to really start thinking about, are we living in the world that we want? And if we're not, how do we use our power to make the world that we want? And so my really quick story to this is, I want to live in a world where women and men have the opportunities to make the same amount of money, and where the work that women do is valued every bit as much as the work that men do. And a lot of times women's work happens in the home. And so I'm using my personal power to revalue the work that happens in the home. And so when women from my company come in and organize in a home, we pay them really well. We pay them much higher than you get paid for any other home jobs, because we think that work at home should matter, and the people who do that work should be paid and compensated really well. We also help them get a retirement account so that when they get to the end of their career, they have savings set aside for them to be able to retire. And these are examples of me using my personal power to make the world the way I want it, which is I want more women to get to retirement age and have enough money saved that they're not worried about how they're going to make ends meet, and they're not living in poverty. 70% of those who are living in poverty are women right now. That's something that I don't like the way our world currently exists. And so I'm using my money and my power to change it. And connecting all the way back to you, we're going to talk about your forms of capital and then talk about what matters to you and how you can achieve your goals. Sound good? Woohoo. All right. So hypothetically, I'm going to say, I bet a lot of you are asking a question similar to this, which is, first we'll talk, what is capital? And then how can that capital either help me get to college, help me graduate from college, and, help me get a job? And I know my mentees and I spent a lot of time talking about, like, what are we graduating in? What's the point of this? And what's the job that we want when we're done with this, so that we can, have the money to buy the lifestyle that we want, to pay for, house and food and clothes and cars and all the things that we want to be an adult. You guys are right on the precipice of, like, trying to cross that bridge. And you need capital to get there. There's 8 forms of capital that you have, and you can think about how you use each one to help you exert more power to achieve your goals. And they are your social capital, your material capital, your living capital, your experience capital, cultural, intellectual, spiritual, and finance. And we're just going to talk a little bit about each one of them and about what they are and how you can get more of it. The first one is talking about your social capital. And if you'll remember, we spent the whole 1st of September. This was like the prompt that Women Who Succeed already gave each of you to think about, like, who's in your network, who's part of your social capital, and how can you engage with your social capital to help you apply for a scholarship, get a recommendation for a scholarship, think about what college you might want to go to. Social capital comes in really 2 different kinds of forms. It can either be your social capital is like your broad network. So this can be the number of friendships that you have, or the age range of friendships that you have, or the different groups or types of friends that you have. Do you have a drama friend? Do you have a tech friend? Do you have a fashion friend? That's different capital for each one of those kinds of friends, because they're in different communities and groups and thinking about different things. And the more you engage across those networks, the more you have a sense of, like, more opportunities and more things that are going on as a result. And then the other really important part of this is, like, your deep capital, right? Like those friends, those family members that, like, really well, that when the day is super tough or you've had a bad moment and you're just like, I just need a friend who's going to, like, hold me and let me cry, like, or I'm going to be that friend for somebody else. That capital is really important to have those deep connections as well. But the social capital is super important also when it comes to thinking about, like, how do I get my first job? Often it's that social connection. It's somebody who knows you and says, this person would be really great, you should hire them. And I actually, like, Erin Trenbeth Murray and I got on, and I did I did a chat with her, and it had me really thinking about, like, where are all the places that I've gotten jobs? And over the course of 20 years, I can't think of a job that I've gotten that I didn't have somebody that I knew who said this would be good for you, or who said to the company, she would be good here, we should hire her. That social capital just really matters. And so thinking about how you're building and growing that and who can open those doors for you is really important. I'm seeing head nods. Anyone have an experience? Has somebody ever opened a door for you before? You guys are thinking about it. I mean, this is one where, like, you guys just talked, you're going to have to ask somebody to write a letter of recommendation for you. Like, who's going to write that letter? That's your capital. And how do you connect with them? And I will say, when you think about building capital, like, it is so easy, it's stupid, and yet it's surprising how many people don't do the easy thing. Write a thank you note. Like, if somebody writes you a letter of recommendation, write them a thank you note. If Sydney gets on a call and hosts, you guys like send her a note afterwards. You'd be surprised. I bet you that she doesn't get as many as you think and that every single one matters. To your mentees, like your mentors, like write them a note. But even more like, have you ever like at the end of a class gone to your professor and handed them a thank you note or a teacher? They will remember that. And when it comes time for you to turn around and say, hey, you know, I'm thinking about this thing or I want to do this, you've set yourself apart just by doing something really basic, like a thank you note. It goes a really long way to helping you stand out among your peers. The next one is material. So this you can assess by like, you know, what do you own or what do you have access to? This could be a house, a car, a bike. It can even be like, you know, cute clothes that you then lend to your friends, or, you know, capital comes in a lot of ways when it comes to material. And ignore the second section. I'm sorry, it still has seek out great mentors, but how you build it is you save for it and you buy these assets. So usually I live in the Bay Area, but I'm here this week in Utah and I'm staying in an Airbnb. There is somebody who has the capital, if they have a home and they've put it on Airbnb, and I am paying them just to stay in their space, and they're making money by doing nothing. Literally, like they're going to change the bed sheets when I'm done and they're going to have someone come clean it and they're going to open it up again and they're going to make money because they have a material asset. That's a form of capital. And passive income is super cool. Next form of capital is living capital. I don't think about this capital unless I don't have it. So I don't know about the rest of you, but like, it's not until I like hurt my shoulder and I'm trying to blow dry my hair that I'm like, oh, I really like my shoulder. And like, I really like, I like this and I want it to work all the time. And I don't wake up and think like, I'm so grateful for my shoulder. But when I hurt it, I think about it. And like the next week I think about it. When you guys think about your living capital, I hope you're really valuing just how awesome your bodies are. Whatever body you have, like love the one you're with and think about how you take care of your body. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you eating healthy food? Are you, you know, making sure that you're getting enough water and that you're like being careful about, you know, getting enough exercise? But really caring for your body is something that is super important over the course of your life. I often go out running, and when I'm out running, I think my 80-year-old self is going to thank me for this moment. And maybe as you guys are out running, think my 40-year-old self is going to thank me for this moment. But getting that exercise is so important to your quality of life. So just your physical body is a form of capital, and it helps you make sure that you know, you have everything that you need. And also living in California after all these rains and having just recently had fires, like just having a sustainable, like good place to live is not something to take for granted. And my fear is that, you know, we're going to go a couple generations and our kids are going to wake up and have that same moment where they're like, you guys did not appreciate clean air enough. We want clean air back. So how are we taking care of our living capital? Experiential capital. Especially as you guys start thinking about what kind of jobs you might want to have, this is a great moment to think about how could I right now get some experiences to help me try on different jobs, or even to learn about jobs that I didn't know existed. When I was in high school, if you told me I was going to be a product manager, I would have been like, what are you talking about? Am I going to like have container products? Like, what are we talking about? And a product manager is somebody who works with technology and somebody who works with groups. And basically my job has been, you know, help people who build technology understand what other people need and help like write, here's what we're trying to do, here's how we'll help somebody else, and here's what we need in the technology and the coding in order to give them the product, the, you know, app, whatever, to help them accomplish their goals. I never even knew that existed, right? So how do you get enough experience to even figure out what some of the jobs are that you could do? And there's some super cool jobs out in the world. Whatever you end up doing for your career, it should be something that you wake up and are like, I get to do this every day, and I'm so happy that I get to do this. How do you know? Well, you have to have experiences to figure out what you like. So as you start thinking about building your career experiential capital, think about saying yes to things. Think about getting yourself in new situations, or even like asking somebody if you can go and shadow them for a day is a great way to build that experience. Yeah. cultural capital is the ability, and when I think about this, it's the ability to walk into rooms that are different from the one that you know, and to be comfortable. And, you know, as an example for me, I bridge the gap between Silicon Valley culture and Salt Lake City culture all the time. And I'm really comfortable in both now. But what's expected when I walk in a room when I'm in Silicon Valley and what's expected when I walk in a room when I'm in Salt Lake are not the same things. And how people even communicate and connect with one another aren't the same. Likewise, when you go to New York, that's a different culture. The more that you have this experience of, you know, and that's just culture of like where you live, let alone cultures of like, you know, does everyone know that it's the Lunar New Year? And do you have anyone who's celebrating the Lunar New Year? Have you reached out and told them Happy New Year? What a cool thing if you have. And if you haven't, and you have an Asian friend, this is like a really big moment for them. It's a great opportunity to like have a little bit more cultural awareness, and build those connections. The other way to think about this is like as a complex identity. So sometimes I think about this as like, what are all the hats that I wear for the people around me? You might wear a hat of being a sister, a friend, a daughter, a cousin. As you go, you know, a classmate, a colleague at work. When you have more identities, it becomes harder to say like everything is wrong in my life at every level of my life, because you have examples of like, you know, I had a bad day at work, but I still came home and I had a great day with my kids, or I got in a fight with my friend, but you know, the people I play basketball with are still really great. So I have someone to hang out with on Friday night. Like having those cultural different groups really helps you have more community and improves your capital and makes it safe for you to walk into different spaces. All right. And again, as you're thinking about this, like, how does this help me go to college? How does this help me get a career? Like maybe, you know, again, you never know who you're going to connect with. And like you both, you know, I don't know, travel to Italy or know this certain, you know, cultural ritual, or you both celebrate a holiday together and you're able to at least connect with them. These are things that help you build those connections and strengthen the relationships. I think intellectual capital is like one of the easiest ones to think about in terms of like, do you know something? And the more that you know, the better versed you are, or the better able you are to sell yourself as being a good person for a job. Like I have that skill set. Great, I should get that job. If you don't have that knowledge, how do you get that knowledge? How do you build more? Well, Women Who Succeed is a great place to start. Literally what you're doing tonight, you're building your intellectual capital. So you can all give yourself a pat on the back for that one. As you start thinking about how do you build more of this, I encourage you all to think about not only like, what do you consume? So what do people give you? But like, how do you then reproduce it to make sure that you have mastery of it? So, you know, as an example, tonight, after we're done, you might think about these 8 forms of capital and then think about something that matters to you and really think about how would you apply these, and then go do some of them as a way to experience and make sure that you have mastery of what we've talked about or what we've learned. But writing, summarizing, recommending it to somebody else or teaching somebody else is how you really build that intellectual capital from consumption to actually like, I own it and I'm a master of it. And only you can take that ownership of your education. Spiritual can be lots of different, you know, this can mean different things to everyone. It doesn't have to be your religion. It totally can be, but it can also be, how do you make time for stillness in your life? How do you calm your brain? How do you make sure that you are, you know, that you feel like you are enough and that you know that you're not, you don't have to prove that you're good enough. Like just being you is enough. And like really owning that is a part of that well-being. And that's capital. Sometimes you have to spend time to unplug and like step back from the world in order to really feel that capital. And when you center yourself, again, thinking about like, how does this apply to college? Well, or how does it apply to a job? Checking in with yourself and knowing these are the things that matter to me, or these are the skills that I'm really good at, or this is what I care deeply about, helps you then think about what you might be looking for in your next job or career, because you know yourself really well. So that's a form of capital. And finally, the one that you guys all know that we were going to talk about today is finance as a form of capital. And this is really 2 things, right? Like on the one, it's your ability to earn money. And that's always like, that's usually what we think about when we talk about capital is like, How do you get a job? How do you get a high paying job? How do you get a bigger job, a better job? But it's also every bit, what do you do with that money once you get it? And are you saving it? I've spent a bunch of time in fintech. That's kind of been that has been my professional area. And one of the overwhelming across all of the research studies that I've seen, the biggest thing that we see is people who save money are on a very different financial life track than people who spend all the money that they have. And it doesn't really matter if you're living at the lowest income brackets in the economy or if you're living at the highest income brackets of the economy. You know, I've seen people who are making big 6-figure salaries, but they spend everything that they make, and they're actually not very financially successful because they don't save. And so it doesn't really matter how much you make if you're not able to save as well. And so as you think about your finance capital, the biggest thing that you can do right now is develop a habit of saving. And that savings is going to set you up for whatever comes next. And that savings is that like emergency funding as well as something doesn't go right. Or, you know, even like, I think everybody should have you might not use this. You don't want to walk out the door just on the first time that somebody upsets you. But if you have a job that's not a good fit for you, having savings makes it easier for you to say, this isn't the fit for me and I don't have to be treated this way. And I'm walking out the door because I don't need this. And if you don't have that savings, you might not have that option. So that savings is just super important to giving you that security and peace of mind that you're good no matter what the outcome of your job. And the ways that you build it, get that high paying job or figure out the skills that you need to get that high paying job is a great way to build your financial capital. And I would encourage all of you to have conversations with more people about money. You might have seen, but the New York Times this last week just barely did. I thought, like, I totally geeked out on it. I thought it was so cool. They asked 400 people in New York if they would be willing to put their name and their picture on the front page of the New York Times with how much they make. And they asked 400 people. Any guesses how many people were willing to do that? Think about it. Would you be willing to have the New York Times have a picture of you and how much you make? No, we're getting a no already. I can't see the chat. Are you guys guessing? Let's see. 400 people. How many people do you think were willing to share? Oh, we got a 0. Oh, 100. Let's see. I'm looking through. Sydney, go ahead and shout out if I'm missing anyone.
Yeah, we've got 100. We have 0, 250, 80, 0 to 5.
They had 40 people. They had 40 people. 40.
Oh.
And what was super interesting to me about that, the 40 people who were willing to share of the 400 that they asked were almost all low income. So they were making between $12,000 and like $40,000 in New York City, which in New York City, that doesn't go very far. They had a handful of people who were making over 100,000. But even in the article, it said like, really, to live in New York City, you need to be making like $100,000. But a form of power is how much you make. And sharing that is sharing your power. And it makes people vulnerable. One of the things that you can do as a student that you can't really do it any other time of your life. And as a student, like you should, in the same way that like you should all write thank you notes, you should all take advantage of the fact that you are a student and get to ask people questions about what they do for a living, what their standard of living is. And you can ask people like, hey, what's the typical wage of a doctor? What's the typical wage of a product manager? What's the typical wage of a restaurant manager or a server? And people will answer you, right? And like, if it's people that you really know, like go to your mentor and be like, what job do you do? And how much do you make? And what lifestyle do you get to live by that? Like, why not ask it? That's a way that you can connect. And especially this month where we're talking about money, like you get a free pass to go ask that question. And if somebody doesn't want to answer it, they'll deflect and they'll answer it in a way that they feel most comfortable. But if you don't recognize that like the job you get has a salary that's connected to that, and that salary establishes your standard of living, like before you pick your job, know the salary and like understand what that standard of living is that you're committing to when you get that salary. And as you're thinking about skills, like it's useful to know that every job is lovely and you should pick a job that you love, but different skills get paid and compensated more. And the closer you are to math and numbers and computers, often in tech, like the higher your salary is. And the least likely you are to get fired in a recession. The first ones that get fired are those who are working around the edges of that technology. So like I've just watched a bunch of my friends in Silicon Valley get laid off. And a lot of the first ones who got fired were recruiters because they're not hiring anyone, let alone like they don't need to go out and recruit. And those are softer skill jobs. They get paid a little bit less and they're the most vulnerable during a recession. If you're thinking that you want to do recruiting, it's useful to know that those are things that come along with your job. And if you have the opportunity to lean into some of those harder skills, like lean in hard, again, ask people like, here's what I'm interested in. What's the right job fit? And what do I get compensated for? Where's my power and where's my money with that job? Is this helpful? I feel like this is the stuff that nobody talks about. So I wanted to get on and at least like open it up and talk about it. Do any of you guys have questions? Things that feel like you maybe like couldn't ask someone else that you'd want to ask about money?
Is there ever a thing such as like too much money or you're saving too much or?
That's a good question. I mean, it's one of those of like, is like, when I think about money, I think about like, is it ever too much that you are able to make the world go the way you want? Well, it kind of depends on like, what do you want to do with that money, you know? And there are trade-offs, like, you know, if I'm working every day from the moment I wake up till the moment I go to sleep, does it matter if I'm making all the money in the world and I'm not enjoying it, right? But vice versa, if I'm not making enough money and I'm waking up and working from the minute I wake up till I go to bed and I can't make ends meet at the end, like too much or too little, if I'm not having a good quality of life, like money doesn't matter, quality of life matters. So yes, I think too much of anything cannot be great. But on the flip side, like, you know, if you're investing and you're saving and you are then able to say like, I want to put my finger on the scale because, you know, this cause really matters to me and I want to be able to like donate or I want to be able to contribute because I have the financial power to do so. Like, that's awesome. Thank you for talking about normalizing salaries and jobs. When I first started working, I was told not to talk about with my pay with my coworkers and managers. And do you know who I bet you told you that? A boss, because that boss has power when you don't talk about it. And actually some new laws have passed in California and New York that you have to tell people what they're getting paid and like what a job gets compensated because they realized like employers were holding that and that was power that was hurting more people than it was helping. Okay, cool. I love these questions. And so you guys just keep them coming. So now I want to pause and say again, like you guys are now thinking about what's the thing that you want to achieve? And I want to give you a minute to like run it through this list again and think about like, what's the thing that I'm trying to do? And do any of these forms of capital and do any of these ways that we've talked about building that capital, do any of these help me accomplish that? And I'm just going to pause and I hope you're all pulling out your pencils for half a second and that you write one thing that you're going to do to grow your capital and help you have more power or whatever your next step is. Does anyone have one they want to share just to like help somebody else think about it? You can even share a bad idea. That's what I usually do with my team. I say, I'm going to share a bad idea so someone else can have a better one. One way that you could grow your capital to help you find your next job. Yay, there is one. Taking classes. So Hannah says, taking classes after college to gain professional skills. I love it. Great example. And that's the intellectual capital that we talked about. how are we on time, Sydney? Because I've got another section that I can talk about, like once you have power, how do you use it for good? But we can also call it here.
Yeah, we usually go till 7. So if you want, I can send out the rest of your PowerPoint or any other notes that you have later on. But yeah.
Okay, then we'll wrap it here. I've got a bunch of suggested resources. So if you haven't, or if you're new to college, go check out this crash course on how to college. It's so good, and it's all like cute little animation, and it's lots of good tips. And included in there is how to pay for college. So when you guys get this link, you can follow this presentation and click on the link and go see it. It felt like I was watching Saturday morning cartoons, but it was actually like good information too. And then people who talk about money. I love Miss Dow Jones, and her first 100K is people who talk about money. If you want more like financial courses, the Khan Academy actually has a financial series that I think is awesome. And then if you're thinking about like, I want to be able to save money, I've done fintech. So here are the products that I recommend. Of all the products that are out and available, these are the ones that I go to when I want finance support. So Greenlight, especially if you're in high school, like get your parents on Greenlight with you and have them pay you for, the things that you're doing and track your money in Greenlight. You can even like have your babysitting money get paid to Greenlight and then put it in your savings account. And I really love Digit for savings, YNAB. It's you need a budget as a way to like think about where you spend your money and track it. Or Nerd Wallet is another one that I go to if I'm like, I'm looking for a credit card. What credit card should I get? I go to Nerd Wallet and I see which ones they recommend. Yes, yay. So fun to spend a night with you guys. I hope this was useful.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Tori. It looks like you got 2 other comments while you were wrapping up. So Amy's going to working on building and diversifying her community and create more opportunity. And then Alicia said that she will be stepping out of her comfort zone and gaining more knowledge on certain skills that she thinks will help her in the future. So thank you so much.
Hannah, Amy, Alicia, and everyone else who didn't share. I'm super excited for you to keep building your capital.
Yeah, I hope all of you have at least one little goal or action item to start on after tonight. Just keep thinking about it. Think of ways that you can improve your capital in all of those different industry or types, I guess, all those different topics. So Tori, thank you again so much. Really quick for the rest of you, I just put in the chat, and we'll leave this Zoom open for a minute so you can use these links. Please reapply for next year. And also if you needed any more, or if you needed that attendance form, that is there as well. Again, Tori, thank you so much. I really highly encourage everyone to go find Tori on LinkedIn, especially if you have any follow-up questions or want to send her a thank you note. I would highly, highly encourage you to do that. And for the rest of you, thank you so much for coming. It was awesome to see all of you. I'm glad that you could come. And we will see you next month. Don't forget that your meetings with your mentors are happening within the next week and a half, probably. They're going to be February 7th. So I guess it's a little more than, it's like 2 weeks, but thank you so, so much. Everyone have a great night. It was so good to see you again, and we'll see you next time. Bye.